When I was 12 years old, my parents told me I needed to grow up and find my own way home. I thought they were angry with me and would come back after a few minutes. They never did. They drove away and left me at a gas station nearly 80 miles from home with no money and no idea where I was. That night, I slept behind a dumpster while listening to cars pass in the darkness. I promised myself I would never need them again. 12 years later, an invitation to my younger brother's wedding arrived at my apartment. I almost threw it away. Then I saw the handwritten note inside. It contained one sentence that made my hand shake. Please come home because there is something you were never told. My name is Maren Vale, and I was 12 when my childhood ended in one afternoon. I remember that day because it started like an ordinary family trip. My parents were arguing in the front seats, while my younger brother sat beside me playing with his phone. I kept asking what was wrong, but nobody answered me. When we stopped at a gas station, my father told me to get out and buy something to drink. I stepped inside, and when I came back, their car was already moving toward the highway. At first, I thought they were joking. I ran after the car until my shoes started hurting. I screamed for my mother, but she never turned around. I stood there holding a bottle of water while the car disappeared. A cashier named Elsie noticed me crying and asked where my parents were. I told her they had gone to get something and would probably return soon. I waited for almost 2 hours. They never came back. I did not know my exact address, and I did not have a phone. I only remembered the name of my town. When the station closed for the night, Elsie tried calling several numbers from memory, but nothing worked. I was too embarrassed to tell her the truth. I thought my parents would return before morning. They did not. That night, I found a place behind the gas station where I could stay out of the wind. I curled up behind a dumpster using my jacket as a pillow. Every time the headlights appeared, I thought it was them. Every time the vehicle passed, I felt more alone. The next morning, Elsie contacted the authorities, and eventually, I was taken to a temporary care center. My parents had reported that I had run away from home. That sentence was destroyed. Something inside me because I knew exactly what had happened. They had left me. I spent the next few years moving between relatives and temporary homes. I stopped asking about my parents. I stopped expecting apologies. I worked hard at school and eventually earned a scholarship. I changed my life one decision at a time. By the time I was 24, I had a small apartment, a stable career, and a life that felt completely separate from childhood. I had survived. Then the wedding invitation arrived. It was from my younger brother, Callan. I had not spoken to him in years. I almost threw the invitation away because I assumed it would only reopen old wounds. But something inside made me open it. There was a handwritten note tucked behind the invitation. Maren, I know you hate us. You have every reason to. But before you decide whether to come, you need to know what really happened that day. Your father did not make the decision alone. Mom knows the truth. Please come to the wedding. We need to tell you everything. I read the note 5 times. I wanted to tear it apart. Instead, I went. At the wedding reception, I saw my parents for the first time in 12 years. My mother looked older than I remembered. My father avoided my eyes. Then my brother pulled me into a quiet hallway. He told me the truth. My parents had been drowning in debt. They had been fighting for months and believed that giving me to another family temporarily would solve their problems. But they were afraid of admitting what they had done. So they abandoned me and told everyone I had run away. Then Callan handed me another envelope. Inside was an old letter my mother had written the week after I disappeared. She had written that she regretted leaving me every single night. She said my father threatened to leave the entire family if she contacted me. She had been afraid and ashamed. I looked at my mother. For years, I had imagined this moment. I thought I would scream. I thought I would demand revenge. Instead, I asked one question. Why did you wait 12 years to tell me? My mother started crying. She said she believed I would hate her forever. I told her she was right about one thing. I hated what she did, but I refused to spend the rest of my life carrying the weight of her decision. I forgave myself before I forgave them. And that was the moment everything changed. I never went back to being the 12-year-old girl behind that gas station dumpster. I became someone my younger self would have been proud to meet. My parents wanted forgiveness that night, but what I gave myself was something far more important. Freedom. Sometimes the people who abandon you become the reason you discover how strong you really are. I did not choose what happened to me at 12, but I chose what happened next. I walked out of that wedding alone. I did not know whether I would ever speak to my parents again, but for the first time in 12 years, I was not waiting for them to come back. I had finally come home to myself.